Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Malifaux, and tonight we've got the Neverborn, led by Lilith, facing the Outcasts, led by the dreaded Leviticus. A rare sight in the Dark Sphere meta, and I'm really interested to see what he can do. My opponent is relatively new to Malifaux, he's only been playing 3 months, but I'm still a little bit concerned because certain masters, particularly those with a strong range mechanic, tend to require a plan to deal with them, or even an inexperienced player is going to give you a hard time. And whilst on paper, to me, Leviticus sounds like Perdita with 9 lives and who can summon off his kills, I actually don't have a plan to deal with him. Similarly, I know Ashes and Dust is a total boss of a scheme runner, and again, I also haven't got around to planning how to deal with him. So I'm hoping that, despite all evidence to the contrary, I'll be able to come up with something on the fly. For terrain, we've got an open centre board, which will favour long-range attacks. 2 forests either side, providing decent cover, and 2 impassable buildings. We've got height 1 severe terrain walls, height 2 impassable stones, this one's probably height 3. You know the drill by now, and then we've got these stash markers in the centre, providing a little more central cover. Starius has brought Ashes and Dust, Leviticus, with Desolate Soul to the Earth Return and Survivalist. A Hollow Waith, Rusty Alice, with Desolate Soul and From the Aether, ooh, expensive. Lazarus, a Hollow Waith, and an Abomination. I've brought my favourite list. We've got a Terratot, Barbarous, trying out 1,000 faces. Lilith, with Rapid Growth, Living Blade, and Beckon Malifaux. A mature Nephilim with Retribution's Eye. Terratot, Young Nephilim, Primordial Magic, and another Young Nephilim. Plant Explosives is such an easy scheme to complete, I'm going to go for that obviously, especially as we will have to have guys around the stash marker. Could probably do Convict Labourers, it goes well with Plant Explosives, or Detonate the Charges, whatever it's called. But looking at how tough his crew is and his potential for summoning, I think I just want to get stuck in, and so I go for Mark for Death. As I've done a lot of Exhaust Forces recently. And I think I'm right that Leviticus and Ashes and Dust can't remove it when they sacrifice themselves. So if I can get it on them, then I'll just keep scoring points. I forget at this point that Ashes and Dust just can't gain conditions, which is pretty super awesome. And yeah, take prisoner with all the things that can sacrifice themselves and are pretty unpleasant to stand next to. Not gonna bother. So, given the open centre, I'm going to use the Hunter's Spear tactic with Lilith to throw the mature Nephilim up early into Lazarus. He should end that threat pretty easily, but my big priority is Rusty Alice. She's a major anchor, can help out his other heavy hitters in both range and combat, and I need to try to stem the tide of abominations coming towards me. And once she's down, my job is going to be a lot easier. The young Nephilim are going to fly around the back and take out the waifs. If I can finish off any of those enforcers, great. Lilith's going to hang out around this marker and put up her trees to help keep her safe, and then Barbarous is going to go for this more dangerous one. The Tots are going to run around dropping scheme markers and then marking things for death. To be honest, it's not a great plan, as I'm not sure I have enough bite to put in the finishing blow, and I expect to be losing models fairly quickly. But let's see how it goes. Turn 1, there's my hand. I like this nice sprint card. And that's my opponent's hand. Ooh. Well, it's only the first turn. We start things off, I'm just playing for time, trying to wait for Lazarus to come forward to be in range of the Nephilim sling. Hoping I've got these guys protected, but hoping also that Lazarus will try to take the bait and come and shoot one of them. Ashes and Dust just powers up and drops a scheme marker. So good. Running low on activations. I've just got this Terratot, just slightly shuffling up to this wall. A really important lesson it's taken me so long to learn is that with the Terratot speed, you don't need to use it in the first turn and put them in a dangerous position. They can happily just hang back in safety and dive in the second turn. I should have listened to this advice with Barbarous, but that forest is making me feel safe, so he's just nimbled up and gone defensive. Lazarus has taken a couple of damage from the Abomination, I think drawing a card. Rusty Alice has come up and summoned some scrap, and then finally Lazarus has made his plodding way towards the centre. Into perfect striking distance. Though he's probably healed up the damage he took, I can't remember. So I go for the Hunter's Spear. Lilith walks up to here, Tangle Shadows the Nephilim for the Terratot, gets herself into some nice cover, and then puts down the trees so I can protect the mature from retribution after he goes in. My opponent has a trick of his own and surprises me with something I totally didn't see coming. Leviticus uses his zero action Rebirth on Ashes and Dust to sacrifice it after placing into base contact with it. And now Leviticus is right up in my grill. Oh dear. Barbarous takes the full force of the attack and gets unnaturally wasted, leaving him on 4 wounds remaining. To be honest, I think I got off pretty lightly there, and my opponent's terrible control hand probably had something to do with it. The Mature charges home against Lazarus, but after protecting Barbarous my hand is totally shot, and despite melee 6 with a positive flip I actually miss one of the attacks. Frickin' hell. They do it every time. So yeah, in the end Lazarus only takes 4 damage. I have put him in Black Blood range however, so any retribution is going to eat away at Lazarus slowly. Turn 2, a reasonable hand. I'm always happy to see the Knight of Masks. I get the initiative, woohey! And Barbarous wastes no time discarding 1,000 Faces for Malifaux provides, and getting stuck in and charging Leviticus. He's going to die, so he might as well die hard, and die hard he does. Red Jokering the damage on Necromancer, pushing him back a little bit, and then nimbling into being Black Blood range, ends his activation by discarding the enemy scheme marker to heal himself. And hopefully he can waste enough of these guys AP to take them out of the game this turn. Eager for retribution, my opponent goes with Leviticus, which I'm perfectly fine with, as the Mature can activate next and try to take out Lazarus. Unfortunately for the Necromancer, he forgets to step back out of Black Blood range and does end up killing himself, whilst Barbarous stays standing on a single wound. Ugh, well, that's a lesson he won't forget, I'm sure. It's Mature time. I slap Lazarus around pretty hard, but then Black Joker the final damage flip. Seriously, every time. Ashes and Dust punishes Barbarous for being so naughty and slaps him down. He'd reformed at the end of last turn. He drops his scheme marker back down and then walks over towards the stash marker in a huff. Lazarus goes, beats on the Mature, but the Black Blood he's taking undoes the good of his healing, leaving him pretty vulnerable, so Lilith goes. Tangle shadows the Mature out for the Young, then shuffles a little bit closer so she can Wicked Vines the Abomination. The Young gobbles down Lazarus like a tin of sardines and grows into a mature, tremble, twisted steampunk things. This waif has come over here to join this marker. Rusty Alice has, I think, tried to summon and failed. Moved and dropped a scheme marker. The other waif has run around here around the building, and so my other Mature has gone up to join her. Young Nephilim, sorry. And then, oh my god. I do one of the most dumb shit plays I've ever done. Completely forget what my schemes are. This Terratot sprints over to the waif and just gives, tries to hit it, obviously failing to kill it. And this Terratot just plods up towards the centre. I am a total freaking dipshit. I could have dropped down a couple of markers. I could have marked Rusty Alice or Ashes and Dust for death, or done quite an effective combination of the two. Instead, epic mind fart. So I end up scoring just 1 point for guard the stash. Leviticus chooses to sacrifice his waif and unbury here. We go to turn 3 and my brain is decayed to the point that I can't even hold cards properly. I do, however, get the initiative and do remember to flurry, killing Rusty Alice. Mission accomplished! And then I remember what my actual mission should be. I'm such a fucking moron. Leviticus goes, nearly almost kills the Mature, but can't quite do it, as its willpower doesn't suck as much as its defense, and then sacks himself to bring up another waif over here. My Terratot escapes the clutches of Ashes and Dust after announcing Mark for Death and realising I can't put it on Ashes. So I get out of engagement and drop down a scheme marker. Ashes follows up by killing the Tot with Desolate Warping to turn it into an Abomination, and that just pisses Lilith off. That's not how they're supposed to grow. I'm left with a bit of a problem. I've been unexpectedly successful at removing my opponent's models, and he's now got only 3 models I can score points from: Ashes and Dust, this Abomination, and the Abomination around the corner, who's moved to engage my young Nephilim. Because I'm still in Mindfart mode, I forget that the Abomination has been summoned and therefore can't pick up scheme markers. And I could just move this Terratot around here and drop a marker and score full points. Alternatively, I could just walk the Primordial Magic over here, sacrifice him and score full points for the explosives. But given that I'm a total dickwit, I decided to charge with the Mature and slaughter the Abomination gloriously but pointlessly. Wow, just wow. I make things up to myself a little bit by marking the Abomination for death with the young Nephilim and then Tangle shadowing it, swapping it out for the Primordial Magic before greatswording the little motherfucker. Always keep another model around to make sure Lilith can do this kind of thing, and then I drop a marker. because I'm running out of enemy models to actually score my scheme, and I want to spread my net pretty wide. I then move this Terratot to drop a scheme marker in between the two, hoping that my opponent is under the illusion that I'm a good player, who's going for a rather audacious convict labour, rather than someone who's just fucked up an almost unfuck-upable Detonate the Charges 2 turns in a row. Seriously, what was I on during this night? We go to turn 4 with an awesome hand, it's back to its rightful state. I get the initiative, hop my Mature over here, and finally mark Levy for death. Ashes and Dust uses the Abomination's scrap marker that was here to push out of combat, drop a scheme marker, and then finish off my other Mature. I try to kill the Waif over here with the young Nephilim, but he puts in the red Joker, and I don't care enough to put in mine, so I just end up pushing it over here with the second non-fatal attack. And my thinking is that if Levy sacrifices, then then he's very likely to appear over here at the end of the turn, and if I can get another marker down, I can keep myself in the running for Detonate the Charges. But then Levy does his trick again, where he sacrifices Ashes and Dust, placing next to it, and then unloads on Lilith with focused shots, negating my cover. Fortunately, he's not getting his Ignore Soulstone trigger, so I'm able to keep Lilith alive. But yeah, ow, that was quite a nasty shock. I get Lilith to safety, and now that this has happened, I can score my points for Detonate the Charges, so the Waif is no longer required, so I end her with Wicked Vines. The Ashen Core pulses and exhausts my Terratot, but since it doesn't actually have an engagement range, my Tot just removes it, and I walk over here to keep scoring for Guard the Stash and be in Black Blood range of both of those guys. The Dust Storm takes a huge chunk out of my Mature Nephilim. Ouch! Don't underestimate this thing. And at the end of the turn, I score for the stash. Despite my best efforts, score full points for Detonate the Charges, and I reckon that's it. Turn 5, I get the initiative again. Seriously not my opponent's night. There's no way the Mature is going to be able to disengage from the Dust Storm, so I wing buffet it away and then walk to stand between the Necromancer and the Ashen Core. Hopefully one of my guys will survive to be within scoring range of the marker. If not, they'll die and die bloody. And they do. Leviticus kills the Mature, and then he warps the Terratot into an Abomination. Inadvisably and presumably on reflex, Levy then sacks himself to put a Waif over here and scores me mark for death. Lilith finds that she can be within scoring range and Black Blood range of the Ashen Core and hit the Abomination. So I kill the little bugger, stopping him from potentially walking over here and helping the the Dust Storm score for Guard the Stash. And then for shits and giggles just put down the Forest to make it even harder should the Dust Storm want to waste its turn coming towards the marker. Quite understandably it doesn't, and goes and finishes off its Convict Labour scheme over here. I find that my young Nephilim is within range to get into scoring range of the Guard the Stash marker. I'm not going to pretend that that was planned, you won't believe me. And then the Ashen Core puts the final nail into the coffin of just what a total dimwit I am, and gives Lilith exhaust. And so we end the game. I score Guard the Stash, mark for death, and my opponent scores Convict Labour and exhaust their forces. To the final scores, the Outcasts got 0 points for Guard the Stash, 1 point for Exhaust the Forces, and 1 point for Convict Labour. The Neverborn got 4 points for Guard the Stash, 3 points for Detonate the Charges, and 2 points for Mark for Death, making this game 9-2 to the Neverborn. Well done to my opponent. He fought hard, and as I said, he hasn't been playing this game very long at all. Some mistakes to learn from, but I think we can all see that even certain players with more experience are not above making little goofs. Starius was very unlucky with the initiative flips, which really helped me keep momentum by killing his models first. And yeah, Leviticus is really scary, but I just ended up flipping really well against his attacks. The use of Ashes and Dust in combination with Leviticus was really good. That is a really solid tactic. You can use Ashes and Dust as a beater, then give Leviticus some incredible mobility to finish things off whilst generating some more scheme runners. Very strong and definitely something to look out for in future. Taking Rusty Alice down early was pretty huge, as was just having a hard counter to Lazarus. I certainly learned some stuff from this game. I hope my opponent did too. He said he wanted to practice for a tournament, so I played him properly. And I hope he hasn't taken it too hard, because I think he's going to turn out to be a good player. Can't wait for the rematch. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.